We love bringing you the big names on Sky Sports News on deadline day. Paul Merson on the way very, very shortly here. But for now, let's cross to our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy, who is with Jamie Carragher.
Yes, an unprecedented transfer window means we need to have unprecedented analysis. And I've got Jamie Carragher to do that with me. Jamie, there's only one place to start, Chelsea. They could be breaking the British transfer record, but what have you made so far of their spending and the players they've got in?
It feels a little bit scattergun. I think we felt that in the summer. I do think that there is obviously a plan behind what they want to do in the future. I'd be really interested to maybe know the private thoughts of the manager, actually, because it just feels like he's come into this club and it's just like the players are just coming in, leaving, left, right and centre, and he's got to build something and create some sort of team. He's going to have great players, but can you create that sort of team ethic, that bond that all great teams need in the future? But as I said, I mean, as you're a Chelsea fan, it's really exciting, I suppose. And, you know, Todd Bowley's come in now. He's put his money where his mouth is. And he wants to get Chelsea right back to the top.
You make a good point there on Potter and how this is the antithesis of how he usually works. How difficult is it to integrate so many new players in January, especially given the position Chelsea are in the league?
That's a problem in itself, integrating players normally at like a pre-season, but that's obvious, we know that, it's January. It's also what this effect has on the players that are already there. And, you know, if players feel like they're not going to get an opportunity, if they can't get certain players out today, you know, what's the feeling, what's the spirit like on the training pitch? Because, you know, even listen to Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, they don't like the biggest of squads for that reason, that it's hard to keep people happy. You need to keep sort of, you know, everyone upbeat and feeling like they've got a chance of playing and contributing as well through a season. So that could be a big problem for Graham Potter between now and the end of the season. But I'm sure there'll be a few people going. It looks like Jorginho's on his way to Arsenal, so that'll be one out. But, yeah, they've certainly gone for it in the two windows that the new owner's been involved in. How successful that makes them, who knows? Because, as I said, we've probably seen with probably the biggest example of that is probably Manchester United in the last 10 years have thrown so much money at it and have never quite got exactly where they want to be. And, you know, for Chelsea, they'll be hoping that they do maybe what Abramovich has done before at that club, because that's how they started, and it did prove very successful.
Now you can follow the latest on the developments on Enzo Fernandez on Sky Sports News. But like you say, Chelsea's business affecting outgoings and other clubs. Arsenal, Jorginho, they are definitely feeling like they've got their hands almost on the title and they're doing everything possible to keep it there.
Rightly so. I spoke to Mikel Arteta. We did the Monday Night Football special with him. He came in and I asked him that question. He was never going to admit that it was a chance that they can't sort of let go in this January window. I felt that would be a big name striker coming in because of the situation with Jesus. They brought Trossard in, but Nketiah's done so well. Trossard may just end up being an impact player maybe from the bench. But I think they've got a slight problem in midfield, and that they've been fortunate. The midfield's basically played all season without being injured. I think if I'm right, El Nenny's picked something up that may be a little bit more serious than maybe they're letting on at the moment, and he is the backup for midfield, and they need to bring someone in. So they've gone for obviously Caicedo. Can't get that done at Brighton. Maybe they've looked at other players, and Jorginho it's an interesting one, and I can totally understand it. But I think I was listening to people talking about it today, talking about he's not the sort of style of Arsenal's play, so quick now and it's so fast and energetic, and he's the opposite of that. And I get that argument, but I also think with maybe 10 games to go in the season, when they might actually need cool heads, when there's a pressure moment, you know, the nerves are, you know, coming on in that title run-in with sort of 7 or 8 games to go, he may actually be a really good signing in terms of being actually slowing things down, cooling heads. He's a player who's won a Champions League and a European Championship in the last few years. He's a top player, there's no doubt about that. And but yeah, he is a different style of play. But I'm not saying that's for Arsenal week in, week out forever, but I think that could be a big help for them towards the end of the season if, as I said, they're getting quite nervous.
Now, a piece of breaking news on a club that's not likely to be active today. Well, we'll get to them. Manchester United, Christian Eriksen out until April or May. Big blow for them.
A big blow, because I think, you know, the midfield is basically in the biggest turnaround, I think, for Manchester United this season in terms of Casemiro being there, Eriksen coming in alongside him, and Fernandes in front of them. So they've had a great little trio for a lot of the season. So I think that will be a blow. I mean, they've got Fred and McTominay there, who, you know, have been much maligned over the last couple of years. I think a lot of that's been a little bit harsh, if I'm being honest. And I think Fred alongside Casemiro, you're talking about Brazil's central midfield. I think over the last few years they've certainly played quite a lot together, and yeah, it's a blow for Manchester United, but Man United's not going to win the league, and I don't think they're going to fall out the top 4 either. So I don't think it's a massive blow where it's going to massively affect them in terms of where they finish this season, because I think they're playing that well now. I don't see them dropping outside of the top 4, and as I said, I think there's too big a gap now between themselves, Arsenal and City.
You brought Liverpool up. I was going to leave them alone, but Konate, another one added to the injury list. They're not going to be active today, but the situation Liverpool find themselves in, is it more than transfers that's going to get them out of the situation?
Well, medically wise, they've had a really bad season in terms of injuries. Sometimes that can be down to bad luck. Sometimes that can be down to, you know, the way injuries are looked after, who's involved. I know that, you know, they haven't replaced a doctor who left, I think, in the summer. Whether that's a problem, I'm not sure, but they've had really bad luck, or they need to sort that, you know, medical department out one way or another. In terms of transfer-wise, I can understand frustration of Liverpool fans when they see clubs, you know, spending money left, right and centre, and Liverpool, it almost looks like because they're not bringing someone in, they're giving up on that fight for top 4. But what I would never want my club to be was what they were when I was a player, which was a little bit scattergun, panicking at different times. I think Liverpool over the last 4 or 5 years have been a model that most clubs around Europe have wanted to follow. And what they don't do is panic in the transfer market. And I think Jurgen Klopp has shown that before when he's had really successful buys that he's brought in, namely Virgil van Dijk. He waits for the player that he wants. Now, if Liverpool aren't bringing players in now because they haven't got the money, or the player isn't there that Jurgen Klopp wants, that is a completely different argument. Now, we don't know that. We're not privy to that information. But I'm convinced Liverpool will have a big summer. I'm sure a lot of fans want them to have a big January. But I would not want Liverpool to go back to what they used to do when I was playing, where you'd be buying players and hoping that it would work. More often than not, Liverpool's signings work because Jurgen Klopp gets the man that he wants, and they bide the time for him and don't panic.
You speak there about not panicking, but do they sometimes not do enough? Are they too risk-averse, especially when you look at that midfield area that hasn't been evolved and invested in for a long period of time? When you consider how much money they've spent on forwards and neglected the midfield, do you see an issue there, especially when you look at their form this season?
Well, listen, that doesn't mean to say I'm right or the club are right in terms of Jurgen Klopp, but I think they got to the summer and they were well aware what they needed to do in midfield. They tried to sign Tuchemeni. He went to Real Madrid. So I think Liverpool were at the stage in the summer where they almost won 4 trophies in a Champions League final, where they were thinking, for us to bring a player in, he needs to be special. And they felt Tuchemeni was that player. He goes to Real Madrid. It's obvious they've been working on a Jude Bellingham transfer for a long time. They weren't going to sell it this summer, so maybe they thought we'll wait till next summer and this midfield can get us through. And I've said this before, it's just blown up in the face. And yeah, it's their job to see these things before they happen, and they've got that wrong, there's no doubt. But I can understand it. So I'm not going to be massively critical of them for not bringing a midfield player in the summer, because the 2 players that they wanted were not available. And that goes back to my point that Liverpool, I think, and Jurgen Klopp, throughout all his time at Liverpool, wants to get the player that he wants, not just to bring a body in. And listen, a body could work. A player coming in could change things. I'm not denying that. But the track record over the sort of 5 or 6 years and how they've gone about it has worked more often than not. So for the time being, I'm prepared to bide my time till the summer.
Jamie prepared to bide his time. I'm not sure there's a lot of people at home on deadline day willing to do the same. He also speaks about good processes, Brighton and their recruitment, absolute standout club. But you can follow all the latest deals live on Sky Sports News.